this is the virtual presentation for the Hilo and Puna tract maps. The land use designations, starting these 5 are homestead uses, residential lots pulled from the residential waitlist, subsistence and supplemental agriculture pulled from the agricultural waitlist, pastoral pulls from the pastoral waitlist, DHHL Kuleana is a homesteading use that can pull from any of the 3 wait lists, and that decision is made through beneficiary consultation. As all of the non-homesteading uses, the previous 5 land uses all produce a 99-year homestead lease. These uses do not produce a 99-year homestead lease and are used for other things. The top 2, community use and community agriculture, are used for common areas meant to support the homestead. Community use could be areas that are used for a community center, a park, or recreation space. Community agriculture can be used for things like community gardens, large community agricultural areas, or even community pasture. In red and purple, we have commercial and industrial. These are revenue generating lands. These lands are used to generate revenue for the DHHL Homestead Trust. The next 2 in light blue and brown are renewable energy and stewardship. Like community agriculture and DHHL Kuleana, these are part of the new land use categories that were added to the number of land use category designations in the update to the 2022 general plan. Renewable energy is pretty straightforward. It's lands that are suitable for siting projects for renewable energy. It could be any type of energy. Comments. We have been receiving a lot of mixed comments about renewable energy. Some folks expressing concern or comments that they do not want to see certain types of renewable energy or any type of renewable energy in certain areas. Also folks saying that they think certain areas would be suitable for certain types of renewable energy. Any comments on renewable energy are welcome during this comment period. For stewardship, this land use designation is meant to replace the category that was previously called general agriculture. That was replaced because general agriculture was misleading. Most folks would think that that's a homesteading use when in fact it's a non-homesteading use. Over 37,000 acres were previously designated as general agriculture in the previous island plan for Hawai'i Island. So it's important that we identify these lands and see if any of those 37,000 acres can be changed into homestead uses as the first priority. And if not, then they're identified as stewardship. The last 2, conservation and special district, these are typically more sensitive areas. Conservation is typically more environmentally sensitive areas. It does not mean that these lands cannot also generate revenue. For instance, in the Humu'ula lands, there are areas that are designated or identified in the Ainamana Legacy Plan for sustainable koa forestry, and those are captured under the conservation land use designation as well. Special district, again, areas that require special attention. Typically things like hazard areas. Is it in the tsunami flood zone? Is this an area that needs to be maintained as an open space or greenway? Does this area have a large amount of cultural resources? Examples of special district on Hawai'i Island would be in Honomu. There's a large area categorized as special district, and that's meant to capture stormwater runoff to prevent flooding damage in the homes makai of Honomu Agricultural Homestead. Another example of special district is the Kalai area at South Point. We'll be talking through each of the tract maps. I'll be showing 3 maps. The reason why we're showing you 3 maps is, number 1, it's important that you be able to see what the original island plan land use designations are. So these are going to include mostly the maps from the 2002 Hawai'i Island Plan, except for Kona, which will include the 2009 West Hawaii Amendment. The second map is going to show you what we brought out as draft maps to the first round of beneficiary consultation in August of 2024. And the third map will identify the modifications and changes based on the comments and feedback that we got from the first round of beneficiary consultation. Beginning with Honomu, you can see as of the 2002 island plan, the total area is mostly supplemental agriculture, which again, that's large lot agriculture, and a small area adjacent to Akaka Falls Park was special district. The next map, this is what was brought out in August of 2024 in the first round of beneficiary consultation. Now, this is a copy of the Honomu Settlement Plan and Environmental Assessment that was created in 2019. The Honomu Settlement Plan and Environmental Assessment included rounds of beneficiary consultation, and it was through that beneficiary consultation as well as spatial analysis that this was identified. You can see if you look in the land use designation chart, a majority of the lands in the light green are identified for subsistence agriculture. This is small lot agriculture. It's 418.6 acres or thereabouts total. These are lots that are no more than 3 acres. You can see in the darker green, the kind of medium green color is supplemental agriculture, total of 46.6 acres. This area is identified for large lot agriculture, over 3 acres up to 40 acres. The dark green color that you see on here, that is all conservation, total of 248.4 acres. The reason why there's so much conservation land is these are all the steep slopes and waterways. Folks familiar with this area know that there's quite a bit of water that travels here. You can see the perennial and non-perennial streams are called out. And you can also see all of the hatch lines which show the annual rainfall, which is pretty extensive. Now, the red area in the upper corner adjacent to Akaka Falls State Park is identified as commercial. It's about 3.9 or about 4 acres of commercial area surrounded by the subsistence agriculture. That area was meant to accommodate or take advantage of its proximity to the state park. Could be a farmer's market, could be some small commercial retail opportunities in that space. In the center of the parcel, you can see 9 acres for community use. This was identified, again, to support common areas, would be able to support like an agricultural processing area or an ag hub. And then the 14 acres in dark blue that you see at the bottom is special district, meant to capture stormwater runoff so that it doesn't adversely affect the homes that are makai. Again, this is what was brought in round 1. Now, to talk through what changed, you can see that the commercial area was scaled back. We got some comments about not needing so much space for commercial area, also putting the area more along the roadway, and then kind of buffering between that area and the subsistence homesteads. Other than that, there are no substantial changes, and we didn't receive any other comments. If you folks have comments of what you would like to see, if anything needs to change in this area, please include that in regards to the Honomu tracts. Is from the 2002 Hawai'i Island Plan for the lower Pi'ihonua area. You can see the bright green color is about 529 acres of subsistence agriculture, again, small lot agriculture. In the center, you can see about 31.2 acres of residential. And then the two edges on the top and the bottom of this parcel are in dark green conservation, about 232.4 acres. These are really steep areas that are adjacent to the streams. And then the whole upper portion in light green is general agriculture, over 1,000 acres. Again, that is the land type that was done away with because it does not produce 99-year homesteads. So those lands need to be redesignated. Now, in August, round 1 of beneficiary consultation, we brought out this map. It does scale back some of the subsistence agriculture. That number goes down to about 268.2. It was previously over 400 acres. The reason why it's scaled down is because we use the same practice that was used in Honomu, which is calling out all of the waterways. Now, these are very steep waterways, and beneficiaries have expressed in the past that it's too much of a liability to include that in a homestead area, that it's too hard for the homesteader to have to maintain these areas and try to work around these areas, or even to try to work with these areas within their homestead lot. And the preference is for DHHL to maintain stewardship responsibility over these areas. That's why they've been placed in conservation. You can see the kind of darkish green, lighter green area, about 598 acres in one pasture. That is pastoral. These areas have historically been utilized for pastoral. When we did soil analysis, they might not be the most suitable for supplemental agriculture. There also would be some challenges to accessing this area. However, they've historically been used for pastoral, and so we identified pastoral uses there. The residential area was changed around just a little bit to reflect that buffered area of conservation along the bottom, and also to kind of follow the roadway right through the center of the parcel. That light blue line is showing the county water main, which runs along the roadway. And then the striped area that you see, 58 acres and 17 acres, was us asking folks, do they want to see that area in residential homesteading, or do they want to see expanded subsistence agricultural homesteading? Now, this is the revised map that was presented in April of 2025. You can see some changes to the area. The subsistence agricultural area went up. That was part of the comments that we got. Folks wanted to see more subsistence agriculture. Also along the Pakaluahine stream area, that area was identified as a good location for subsistence agriculture based on the rainfall, how level that area is, and also based on the soil analysis. Now you can see the residential area has changed so that it is stretched along the roadway. Folks wanted to see homesteads that are more accessible along the roadway and don't kind of migrate towards those stream areas, the steep sloped areas. And so you can see the total for residential is at 35 acres, which is consistent with the 2002 regional plan. And there's an increase between the first round of beneficiary consultations and this one in the total amount of subsistence agriculture. The conservation areas are pretty much the same. It's about 630 acres because this area has quite a few streams and steep sloped areas. A total of 577.4 acres of pastoral. Again, pastoral was never contemplated for this area in the past, and this is the first chance that we might be able to have pastoral homesteading opportunities in the Hilo area. The large brown area in the upper quadrant, about 323 acres, is currently identified as stewardship. Reason for that is through the center of the property, you can see that deep line is the Wailuku River, one of the branches of Wailuku River, which is extremely steep and very challenging. You're not able to cross that with a vehicle without some type of bridge or very extensive infrastructure to access that upper quadrant. It is possible to look at getting an easement from one of the northern roads, the Kulaniapia Drive area. but that would require negotiating with private landowners to try to get a permanent easement to be able to access for the homestead. So until we're able to address the access challenges, that area is suggested to be in stewardship. Stewardship means that it cannot be used for a 99-year homestead. However, it could be used for community spaces. The Pi'ihonua and Kaumana homesteads, which are located nearby, have both asked for opportunities to have community pastures. And so this 323-acre parcel is suitable for pastoral uses and could serve the community in the meantime. Again, access by vehicle could be challenging, but it may be able to be accessed by a UTV or an off-road vehicle. Area is the Pi'ihonua residential homestead. That was from the 2002 island plan. In August, with the round 1 of beneficiary consultations, we brought out that map. You can see it in inset map A. The hatching that you see on there means that it is captured in 99-year homestead leases. So as you can see, this whole area has been leased out as residential homesteads. Inset map B shows some of the scattered lots, and those are also captured in residential homesteads. There is a 1/4 of an acre, just about a 1/2 of an acre parcel that is shown in inset map C, Puna, Hawaii. When we brought this out in round 1, we had striped it as either community use or commercial. As you can see in this next map, we were told to capture all of that actually in residential. So that small area that is open, Puna, Hawaii, has been changed to residential and would be available for residential homesteading in the Hilo area. This next one is for Waiakea. This is approximately a 12-acre parcel that is off of Kanoilehua Avenue, adjacent to the airport. In the 2002 plan, it was identified as commercial lands. When we came out with the first round of beneficiary consultations, we asked folks, it was striped in commercial or industrial, and we asked folks if they had a preference. The comments that we got from the first round was to keep it as commercial lands, so you can see that it's reflected as commercial lands here. The next one is Kaumana. So the yellow area that you see, that's all the Kaumana scattered lots, the residential lots that are off Kaumana Drive and the side streets there. The large brown area has no land use designations, a little over 120 acres, and that's because these are the lands that were most recently acquired by the department. So previously were not captured in the Hawai'i Island Plan in 2002. When we came out for round 1, you can see all of the hatching that's over the residential scattered lots. Those are all captured in 99-year homesteads, so we don't touch those areas because they're captured in homesteading. Now for the 120 acres that was recently acquired, about 10 acres of that is suitable for homesteading adjacent to where the existing Kaumana scattered lots are, and then 11 acres higher up, more Mauka. So the yellow area is about 35.6 acres of residential, including the 21 acres out of the new acquisition. In the center area, you can see about 20 acres that's called out in special district. Reason why that's captured in special district is because it's got a lot of flooding in that area. The red, light red on the map is flood prone areas. So there's a river that flows through that area, and we tried to call out all of the flooding areas so that we're not putting homesteads in areas that could flood. There's a little bit of a high zone. You can see that small 2-acre portion that's captured in community agriculture. That area is likely not suitable for homesteads. It's really close to the main roads there. and it could get some residual water, but it could be a great spot for community gardens, just because it's not a good place to put in extensive buildings and structures doesn't mean that it can't also be a useful space. The large area, 29 acres and 22 acres, is captured in subsistence agriculture. So this area has really great rainfall. It also has really good soil. So we suggested that it have subsistence agricultural homesteading there. And then that upper quadrant with the 17 acres, we asked folks, do you want to see more opportunities for community agriculture? So not 99-year homesteads, but spaces for agriculture to pair with all of that residential area. We asked if they want to see more subsistence agriculture or even large lot agriculture with supplemental agriculture. There's a 2-acre and a 6-acre parcel that were striped either community use or commercial. So we asked folks what they would like to see in those areas. Based on the comments that we got, folks wanted to see more residential areas. And so that 6-acre parcel was changed to residential, which increases the availability for new homestead residential from 21 acres to 27 acres. Folks wanted to keep that community agriculture, community garden space, and folks wanted to see a community use space. That 2-acre parcel is identified for community use. It could be the site of a community center or recreation center for the homestead. And then folks wanted to see more opportunities for subsistence agriculture. And so that 17-acre parcel was put into subsistence agriculture. Some of folks' thoughts with the subsistence agriculture is you can put a home there. You don't have to. And so it just allows folks more opportunities. With subsistence agriculture, again, you don't have to cultivate 2/3 of the parcel like you would need to with supplemental agriculture. You don't have to put a house on it, even though you can, so you don't have to meet financial requirements. And also there is a requirement in the lease that you cultivate, but there's not that 2/3 metric isn't captured in there. And then because you're not doing commercial or large lot agriculture, you also don't need to do a farm or business plan. So this is the map, the revised map based on the comments that we received. If folks have other comments or suggestions or other concerns, please share that for the Ka'umana lands. For Panaewa, there's kind of a lot going on here. You can see the purple and the red is all the commercial and industrial area. Again, this is from the 2002 plan. You can see the blue areas are community use spaces totaling about 40 acres across 3 different parcels. The large orangey color is supplemental agriculture. These are farm lots, almost 1,600 acres of that. There's about 462 acres of subsistence agriculture, which is small lot, up to 3 acres. And then there's a planned residential homestead in that other yellow area that is off of Elama Road. And then wanted to call out, if you look off of Kanoi Lehua in the bottom left along Kealaka'i Street, there are 2 parcels there captured in general agriculture. Now, when we came out for round 1, we kept all of the industrial and commercial the same, as well as all the community spaces the same. You can see all the hatching that's on here. That means that these lots are awarded as 99-year homesteads. You can see that there are 2 striped sections, about 400-acre section that's striped in either subsistence agriculture or supplemental agriculture, asking if folks would like to see supplemental or subsistence agriculture in that area. And then the 23-acre space was striped as either subsistence agriculture or renewable energy. And then there's a 18-acre section in the center of the farm lots off Railroad Ave. And that area was striped as either residential or supplemental agriculture. That area hasn't been awarded yet, so asking folks what they would like to see. Based on the comments that we received, there's a preference for agriculture. So all the areas that you can see in the Panaeva farm lots, the dark green, you can see there are little blocks that are called out in light green. So these are areas where the parcels have been subdivided and they're smaller than the supplemental agriculture size, which is 3 to 40 acres. So if there's little sections that are 3-acre sections or 2-acre sections, then those have all been captured as subsistence agriculture. Again, that allows folks to have the ag lot, not be required to cultivate 2/3, not have to meet a financial requirement, but are able to build on the property, and it also alleviates the requirement of doing a farmer business plan. Now, the 359-acre parcel that's out Makai of the Hilo drag strip, that area was captured in subsistence agriculture, as well as that 23-acre parcel off of Kealakai Street. All of those were identified as a preference for subsistence agriculture, small lot agriculture. The little stripy line between the 321 acres of residential and the Hilo drag strip indicates that we need to do some type of noise buffering to ensure that residential homesteads in that area are not adversely impacted by the use of the Hilo drag strip. And so that's something that will have to be incorporated into the development of those homesteads. The next tract map is for Keaukaha, both the Keaukaha Residential and Keaukaha Tract 2 or King's Landing. You can see that in the inset map, as well as the large map, most of the Keaukaha area is all residential with some areas identified for community space. That community space in the center is actually where we see that the community center, the park space, the elementary school, as well as the East Hawaii District Office. And then the Makai area is the beachfront area. We came for round one. For inset map A, we asked, do folks want to see that space remain in community use, or do we want to reflect it in special district since it is in the tsunami evacuation area and in the flood zone? There are also some parcels along Nene Street that's captured in inset map B that are still vacant, have not quite been awarded yet. There's a 1-acre parcel there that is almost completely covered in the tsunami evac zone and the flood zone. And so we asked if folks, because of that high risk of flooding, we asked if folks want to see that remain in residential, or do they want to perhaps change it over to a community use. And then the large section of Keaukaha Tract 2 or King's Landing, this is following the King's Landing Settlement Plan in EA, which identifies areas for community agriculture, community use, conservation, and DHHL Kuleana homesteading opportunities. So this just follows all of the work that was done to create the King's Landing Settlement Plan in EA. Based on the comments that we received, there were some changes. Folks said that even though that 1-acre area along Nene Street is in a flooding area, they do want to see that offered as residential homesteading. And then folks responded that they would like to see the beachfront area remain in community use designation. For the Moku area, you can see the Makai area is about 500 acres captured in the 2002 plan as general agriculture. And then the Malka lands right through the center is the main highway. Makai of that is the Moku farm lots in orange, supplemental agriculture. There's also subsistence agricultural areas, Mauka and Makai of the roadway. The small hatched up area shows the subsistence agricultural lots that have been subdivided. There's also community spaces, commercial spaces along the roadway, and then another section for residential homesteading there. In the first round, in the inset map, you can see that large restricted area. That's because that area has a FAA tower there that has a long-term land disposition, and so that area is hatched because it's in a long-term land disposition. You can see the community use spaces, the 9 acres, the 15 acres. There's a small area of commercial, and then a small area that is residential. That was identified based off of the previous plans, community plans for that area. The area Mauka across the highway is striped in yellow, red, or blue, asking folks for that 60-acre parcel. Do folks want to see residential, community use, or commercial there? There's about 202 acres of 202-acre parcel Mauka of the highway that could be for residential. The area is striped. That was previously all subsistence agriculture, asking, do we want more opportunities for residential homesteads, or do we want to see subsistence agriculture there? And then there's a 90-acre parcel that is called out in that upper tip. It's put into special district because it's within half a mile of the lava flow. And so for safety reasons, we wanted to put a half-mile buffer between the homesteading area. Now, in the Makai area, it's important to notice 483 acres is being suggested as DHHL Kuleana. That area is really overgrown with trees, and it might be a good location to do off-grid types of homesteading. There's a 36-acre area, Makai, that is identified as conservation area because of the surrounding uses being within along the shoreline. Now, based on the comments that we received, there were some changes. Folks had no comments actually on that Makai area as DHHL Kuleana and then 36 acres of conservation. If you folks have comments or concerns, please share that. We would like to hear if folks are supportive of seeing the off-grid type of homesteading offered in that space. Also, if it's DHHL Kuleana, do we want it to be agricultural, pastoral, residential, or a mix of those? In the Mauka areas, we did get confirmation from folks that they would like to see residential in that area adjacent to Ainaloa and Mauka of Keaupahoa Road. For the area that is surrounding the existing subsistence ag lots, folks wanted to see more subsistence agriculture in that area. And then the Makai area shows all of the Moku farm lots, the supplemental agricultural area. Everything else remains the same. For Keone Poko, this is an area, it's about 100 acres. In 2002, it was captured as general agriculture. Now, this is off the Keaupahoa Road. That little sliver means that that's a flag lot, so it's not right along the highway. You have to drive a little bit, and then it's kind of just a big open parcel. When we came the first round, we had identified it as potentially a good place for renewable energy, especially for solar. This area gets a decent amount of sunlight and could be a good spot for solar renewable energy. You can see this kind of dotted hatching that's there. That's high-risk lava flow areas, so that's lava zone 2. And it cuts right through that parcel. Now, the only thing is the lava zones don't necessarily have a hard boundary. They kind of have a boundary that fluctuates. And so areas that are in lava zone 2 don't allow for HUD or federal housing from the NAHASDA program. It really limits the type of funding that's available to develop a homestead, or even for homesteaders to have insurance on the property. And so because of those financial constraints due to the lava zone, we do not want to suggest homesteading in this area. Now, based on feedback from folks that we heard, there are a lot of concerns about seeing any type of renewable energy in this area. And so the next suggested land use designation is actually stewardship. Stewardship would mean, again, we don't want to put a homestead there because of its location in the lava flow hazard zone. But this area could be suitable for different types of agricultural uses, potentially pastoral use. Stewardship lands are not going to create 99-year homestead leases, but they could be utilized by folks who like for revenue generation. So if you have a business idea that could exist in that parcel, that might be a good opportunity. Maybe if it's an agricultural or, certain types of uses that would be suitable in that area. Another comment that we received was contemplating community use. Now, again, we want to be mindful about putting structures in lava flow hazard zone 2. So that might have some constraints on it. Please give us your feedback if stewardship as a land use designation is acceptable, or if you'd like to see another type of land use designation for this 100-acre parcel. Okay, this area is Ola'a and Curtistown. You can see Volcano Road, Volcano Highway right there. This is from the 2002 plan. The Ola'a area is that area that's Mauka Volcano Highway. That is kind of adjacent to the national park. Again, this is Mauka of the road, kind of in the Glenwood area. So in between, in the Glenwood area. It's actually off of North Glenwood Road to access that space. In the 2002 plan, it's about 700 acres identified as pastoral homesteading. And then in Inset Map B, that is located in the residential subdivisions. It's Mauka of the Royal Hawaiian and Mauna Loa estates. So across the highway, Mauka of that is where this lot is in Inset Map B. And then, so that's the Ola'a area. Inset Map A is in Curtistown. It's Makai of the highway over there, and it's a small set of parcels, 3 parcels total. When we came out for round 1, we asked folks about Inset Map A, which is the one that's over across from Royal Hawaiian and Mauna Loa estates in the Mauka residential area. That's Inset Map A, and we asked folks if they wanted to see residential or subsistence agriculture there. For the large 700-acre parcel, we maintained that in pastoral, suggested that stay in pastoral. And then for the 3 parcels in Inset Map C, we saw that there's a long-term land disposition on those lands, and that it's actually residential lots. So based on the comments that we received, for the most part, the Ola'a lands off of Glenwood Road are still in pastoral homesteading. We did get some comments about the need for certain types of community spaces. One idea was to have space, because it's all pastoral lots, to have space to serve as like a holding area for shipping out of cattle or livestock, or to have a livestock processing area harvesting and processing area, or even to have an equestrian area, maybe a rodeo arena. And so about 20 acres or so is carved out there for that community use as community agriculture. And then we didn't receive any comments on Inset Map A. This is off of Haunani Road. And we are interested in hearing if folks want that to be residential or subsistence agriculture. You know, there's a mix of ag and residential lots surrounding it, so we're very interested in getting folks' feedback. Do you think that that area should be a residential lot, carved up into residential lots, or should it be subsistence agriculture? Any comments that you folks have on these land uses would be greatly appreciated. Now, I wanted to talk about the Ainamana Legacy lands. This is Upper Pi'ihonua in the 2002 plan. All 7,000 plus acres were designated as general agriculture. Now, I'm also talking about the adjacent land. So in the center, you can see the center outlined kind of blank area. That is the Upper Pi'ihonua area that we just talked about, that parcel. Now, touching it, right, is the Humu'ula lands. There's a mix of community use, commercial use. The striped area is special district. The dark green area is conservation. And then almost 16,000 acres is captured in general agriculture, with pastoral just exceeding 9,000 acres. When we came in round one, the hatched area, about 789 acres, that's the existing pastoral homestead leases, 99-year homestead leases that are there. And then most of these lands were captured in either pastoral, homesteading, or conservation. Now, we got a lot of comments on this. Folks wanted to see more of the 2002 plan integrated, as well as more of the Ainamana Legacy lands incorporated. So you can see this strip of blue in the inset map, 665 acres. That's just Mauka on the Mauna Kea side of Saddle Road. Now, the reason why that area is carved out is because if you look at it on an aerial map, or if you're familiar with that area, that's all lava flow. And so putting that into homestead lots is a little unfair for homesteaders, because you know that really limits what you're able to do with the parcels. And so we thought that that area is best captured in community, in a special district, so that way it can be utilized by the community or utilized by other entities. There's also a lot of value in the lava areas, just maybe not for homesteading. You can also see in the inset map on the far left side, there's about a 21-acre area identified for commercial and a 27-acre area identified for community use. Now, folks said that they want to see some type of use that is on that corner of Saddle Road and the Alakupuna, the Mauna Kea access road. So, folks suggested that they would like to see some type of community commercial space. What that means is, if you look at it at Kapolei, there's a parcel called Ho'omaka Marketplace. It's a commercial parcel that is not managed or developed by DHHL and DHHL Trust. It is actually in a long-term land disposition to a community entity. The community entity got its own developer, developed that lot, put in a Chick-fil-A, a convenience store, and a gas station, a Long's drugstore, and will also be making a small kind of strip mall space for commercial retail. Now, all of the revenue from that development, that commercial land, does not go to the trust. That actually goes to the community entity as a community benefit, and it supports their community programming and their planned community facilities. And that's what folks expressed they wanted to see along Saddle Road. Because there's no convenience store or a gas station or anything along the road, folks said that they'd like to see that there, but they would like that to benefit homesteaders as opposed to all going to benefit the trust. So part of that area is carved up for commercial, about 21 acres. That again would be managed by DHHL's Land Management Division and would be utilized for revenue lease rent that would go directly to the trust. But then the 27-acre area that's along Saddle Road, that area would be available for a community organization. Okay, in the center of the big map, there's 5,171 acres in special district. Now, the reason why that's in special district is because that area is where the bulk of the gorse is. And there's some concerns about that area being given out as pastoral homesteads and DHHL passing the buck to its homesteaders to have to deal with gorse infested areas. So that's why the reason why it's captured in special district, because there are concerns that it needs to be remediated and have more work done before it can be given out as pastoral homesteads. Now you'll see 2 additional areas cited for homesteading. In the bright orange, that's for DHHL Kuleana homesteading. Again, this is the off-grid lots, homesteading lots. We had a lot of folks saying they want opportunities, just give us the land, let us have the land, and we just want the raw land. And so this area was identified as a good location. Folks said that it was in between Hilo and Kona, and that they would like opportunities for homesteading. Now, what type of homesteading, that is something that we need more input on. The 1,895 acre parcel, most of that area looks really good for pastoral use. That being said, we would need to figure out some options for water capture since there's not as much rain there. You can see where the rain belt is, which is more to the east of the Mauna in the blue hatched lines. The 1,343 acre area, again in DHHL Kuleana, we'd love to hear more input. Do folks want to see that as DHHL Kuleana pulling from the agricultural waitlist, or from the pastoral waitlist, or even from residential? All of your comments are greatly appreciated. Okay, next steps. This comment period is going to be open for 30 days. This is a QR code with a link to the website, has all of the instructions for giving comments. So, mahalo nui.